Welcome back to Horn Takes. I'm Sean Redfern, and we will be doing 10 thoughts from the cheap seats this morning, all by our lonesome Michelle. Could not make it today. Drive safe, Michelle. I got me a big cup of coffee. Y'all sit down with me, grab a donut, grab a breakfast taco, and let's talk some Texas football. Let's cope, because that's a lot of what we'll have to do, I think, over the course of this 5 games left in the 2025 season. First of all, before we get into that, real quick, let me give a shout out to our guys over at ChinookSeedery.com. ChinookSeedery.com, great seeds. They are the best seed ever to me. I love them, and that's not just because they let me put their logo up here. I honestly think they're really, really good. 8 great flavors. If you're into flavors with your seeds, check those out. Those guys are great college baseball fans. So if you're a college baseball fan, support that company. They're a Texas-based company. That's another reason why I like them. It's local. And again, man, they are just big time supporters of college baseball. I say seeds are not just for baseball, though. So get them while the football season's. You might need to chew them just to stay sane the rest of this season. Man, 16-13 win last night, no T against a Kentucky team that I think we all know is kind of can get that way sometimes. Like they can suck you into nasty games. And I honestly, and we'll go back over the keys that me and Michelle talked about. We'll go back over my prediction for the game. I knew that was coming. I think everybody, when they go to Lexington, Kentucky, knows that that's what's going to happen. They're going to try to get you in this nasty, ugly, just not fun to watch, crappy ass football game. And I thought and I hoped that Texas would sort of rise above that after a little bit of time and turn it into a Texas game. And that's just not what happened at all. Our keys last week: don't get trapped. I thought this was a trappy type of a game. You just come off a big emotional victory over Oklahoma when the whole college football world was saying, y'all are done. Like, y'all are just not good. And y'all don't have a prayer against Oklahoma. And I got to be honest, I didn't say they didn't have a prayer. I thought Oklahoma would win that game. They come off of all that. They get a big win. And then they got to go on the road to Lexington, Kentucky, and play one of the worst SEC teams historically. They got the second longest SEC losing streak. They got some kid that nobody's ever heard of. I mean, it's just Kentucky, right? So I thought it was really trappy. I thought they showed up to play. They just couldn't do anything offensively. The defense was amazing from the very beginning. I thought Texas needed to establish the run early in this game because I thought it would give them balance. I thought it would prevent all of that tee off on Arch Manning crap. And we'll talk about this. They didn't even try. Probably the biggest travesty of this game Saturday night, last night in Lexington, Kentucky, for the Texas Longhorns, they didn't even try to run the football. And somebody's going to say, oh, but they only got 1.7 yards per carry. I don't give a shit. Like, that has to stop being your metric. If you think you've got this big, badass offensive line and you're comfortable with your running backs, you've got to feed those guys, and you got to pick a back. I'm not saying one guy the whole game. I know we're not in the 90s anymore. I know we're not in the early 2000s anymore where you're just killing a guy for 25, 30, 35 carries a game. But you got to let a guy get hot. And Steve Sarkisian and I have talked about this on this show for the last 2.5 seasons. He will not do that. He just won't. He's allergic to it. And then I said Texas got to be clean. A lot of penalties last night. I haven't looked at the box score at all. I haven't rewatched the game. I felt like they were pretty heavily penalized last night, which is not atypical of this Texas Longhorn football team. But at least they didn't turn the ball over. So I give them, like, on that key, I guess I give them like a B if I'm right about the penalties, which I could be wrong. Prediction, again, I talked about this ugly game. I thought Texas would run them out of that and they'd win 27-13. Wouldn't be pretty. Kentucky get a late score or something like that, which I was pretty right on Kentucky's end of the deal. We just couldn't get nothing going offensively whatsoever. Join us in the chat. We're talking Texas football. We're talking this Kentucky Wildcat win last night, if you look at Twitter, you might not think it was a win. A lot of Texas fans, a lot of upset. And listen, here's my first thought. There are three ways basically to look at a football game. If you're a college football fan, I feel like you fall into one of these categories, or at least a very close variation to one of these categories. You're either a we won and nothing else matters. Why is everybody upset? Why is everybody talking negatively about the team we won? You're either that type of person, or you're a we sucked and nothing else matters person. And you'll see a lot of those out there on Twitter today. Hey, all I see is the problems. The win almost doesn't even matter, because I know if you keep doing those things and don't fix those problems, you're not going to win very many games. So there are people out there that literally will put that win down on the priority list because of all the negative things. And then the third type is the we won, but we got issues. I fall into that category. So just keep that in mind as you're listening today, you're watching today. I'm that category. Yeah, we won. I think that's awesome. Hell, the goal line stand at the end of the game was exciting. You love to see. I don't know if there were too many Texas Longhorn fans that when Kentucky had the ball right there on the edge of the end zone thought at that point, just given all of the way the momentum had changed in that game, thought that defense was going to stop Kentucky. Even though they'd done it the whole game, but shit, they were out on the field like 40 minutes. I don't care how good you are, how deep you are, like you can't do that. So again, we won. I'm great. I'm happy as hell about that. But there is a ton of issues, and we'll sprinkle some positive things in these 10 thoughts as well. But keep in mind, when you're talking to people online, you're talking to one of those three types of folks. Adjust your conversation accordingly. Some of them you can't even listen to. I can't listen to the we won and nothing else matters people. I can't even get with that, because it does matter. I can't get with the we sucked and nothing else matters people. I can't get with the we got to fire people. I can't get with is Sark on the hot seat. I've seen that on Twitter in the last 24 hours. Is Sark on the hot seat? Come on, man. What are we doing? So be the we won, but we got issues, people. And join me this morning. Let's talk about it. Hop in the chat. Drop us your comments, your questions. Again, get yourself a nice cup of coffee. Get yourself a breakfast taco, a donut, whatever you like in the morning. Let's get to thought number 2. Ryan Niblett 2 weeks in a row has been an absolute godsend. I don't know. I do not know. I know we don't win yesterday without Ryan Niblett. The Red River shootout might be a 50-50 type deal without that big return by Ryan Niblett. You got to think that return for a touchdown was kind of the nail in the coffin for Oklahoma. It took away all options they had. Like, they had to pass from that point on. And Texas was able to dial up some pressure, get some sacks on Mateer late in that game to sort of secure that. If he doesn't score that touchdown in the Red River shootout, Oklahoma doesn't necessarily have to do that. And when you can be balanced, and when you will be balanced, you never know what's going to happen. But for sure last night, without those two big returns, Texas is not winning that football game. So, man, our colleague Michelle has been talking about Ryan Niblett all season long, and he has busted out the last 2 weeks and has done outstanding. So thank God for him. Thank God for that return team getting some blocks for that, man. Because without it, we'd be in big trouble right now. Third thought. This Texas defense has taken the ball away on interceptions 4 times in the last 2 games. And we have 0 points to show for it. Not a single point. That's a problem. Hey, we won, but we got issues. That's one of the issues. Number 4, it's great to have a dependable kicker. Guys, we lose that game last year. I feel that in my bones. 100%. So Mason Shipley, thank you. Thank you for kicking field goals because we needed them last night in an ugly, ugly win. 45 yards with the game on the line. That's not easy. Everybody likes to shit on kickers. And I jokingly, I talk about college kickers all the time. It's like a running joke. College kickers suck. But that is not easy to just come off the bench, be put in that type of a situation, especially on the road. And now whatever happens is either you're the man or it's your fault. You've been sitting there for 60 minutes basically, and now all of a sudden the outcome of the game is completely on you. And so far Mason Shipley's been really good. I love it. I appreciate it. I'm glad they went out and got that young man because that was a big issue for Texas last year. Number 5, and I might talk about this one for a while, and this one may get like so far off into a tangent. I don't know what's going to happen. The Texas running game, from scheme to execution, from identity to whatever, is an absolute unmitigated disaster in 2025. And we've been seeing this. We've been seeing this and we've been talking about this for almost 2 seasons now. There is a massive disconnect between Kyle Flood, quote unquote offensive coordinator and run game coordinator, and Steve Sarkisian, the dude that's actually calling the plays. They are not on the same page. Pick what are we, 5-2? Pick 7 games this year, and the running game looks completely different in all 7 games. They have no identity. We are not this type of running team. We're a shitty running team. That's a bad identity to have, and that's about the only identity we do have. But we put no effort into doing it. Steve Sarkisian just, I don't know what it is. His next game script ought to be 15 plays of just runs. I'm like, that's side note. I knew this would happen. I'm off on a side note. The script thing, Steve, you got to throw that in the trash, man. I mean, I'm not saying don't plan. I'm not saying don't have like, hey, these are 15 plays we think we can go be successful at. I think you'd be stupid not to. But for the love of God, mix some run in there. Let's see what the team can do early in the run game. And sometimes it's okay to just deviate from the script and go, man, that trick play thing, what the hell was that? Why? It was probably on the script. And do I think Steve Sarkisian lines up 15 plays and goes right down this script? Absolutely not. I don't. I hope he doesn't do that. I don't believe anybody does that. College sports and sports in general have gotten so analytical that these guys don't even think anymore. What the hell is Stoops doing trying to score against that Texas defense in overtime instead of just taking some points? And some people will go, oh, you know, that might have been their only chance to win. And he was trying to, we haven't won an SEC game. I get that. You don't win an SEC game if you get stuffed running the ball right up the middle 3 times in a row. Like, it's almost like these guys are on cruise control and they have all of these papers printed out that they're looking at. And they go to that little section of the situation that is now in the game. And that's what they pick from. They're like they're not even thinking anymore. It's all driven by analytics. And it's probably not that bad. I'm definitely like overreacting to that. But that's just my thoughts. That's just how I feel when I watch some of these guys and see some of these decisions. And I know I'm old. I know it's like a completely different era of college football than I grew up in and that I played in. I get it. It's different. But my God, Texas running game. Like if it's me, that's all we practice next week. Like you have got to be able to run the football. You have to. We saw what happened with that Texas offense against Oklahoma when they showed like any ability at all to just run and any desire at all to force it. Arch Manning looked really good against Oklahoma. The best game he's played, without a doubt. And it was because he wasn't getting his ass kicked the whole game because we just said, oh, running game, I'm going to put that in my back pocket. I don't want that. Because who wants to win 16-13, right? Who wants to run the ball and punt? Right? That's boring, right? We need explosives. I didn't see any explosives last night. And we got pass happy as hell. And Arch Manning paid for it again. And I will not defend Arch Manning. There's a thought later on. There's got to be a serious discussion about Arch Manning. I defended him against Florida because I thought that game legitimately was not his fault. I can't do that this Sunday morning. I cannot. It's not all his fault. So don't hear me wrong. We didn't almost lose that game because of Arch Manning. He's a piece of it. If you're Texas, I don't know how old a lot of you guys are. I remember watching Texas from the early 90s on. And from the mid 90s till the late 2000s, Texas ran the absolute shit out of the football. They were about to run you over. And honestly, we look like Texas Tech from the Mike Leach era to me right now. We cannot run it. I mean, the only difference is we're not just chunking the ball down the field. Like our passing game is still all of these concepts off of the running game. Like if I see play action in the third or fourth quarter one more time, I might throw up. Why? What are you play acting? You haven't ran the ball in freaking 2 quarters. I like Steve. If you want to be a passing team, great. Throw 4 wide receivers out there and let's pass. Let's stop bringing in 2 tight ends and pretending we're going to run all these like West Coast schemes or whatever it is. I don't know what you call it. It's not working. We're not running it. Why have 2 tight ends in the game if you aren't going to even try to run the ball? Dude, you want to pass? Let's spread them out and let's pass. I'm for that. Shit, we might get the running game going because there's not freaking 16, 17 people standing in the box. On a positive note, Texas didn't turn the ball over. And I think that is a great thing. I think that's as bad as Arch Manning was and is completely like absent the running game was, we didn't turn the ball over. We didn't force anything. I like that. I mean, I think that shows growth. That's a really short thought, but that's a thought. Guys, tell me what you think about it. We're about halfway through 10 thoughts today. Jump in the chat. Leave us your comments. Leave us your questions. I'd love to chop it up with you guys. I can be here for an hour. I don't care. Let's have a discussion. The saddest thing about this 2025 team, and this is the next thought of 10 thoughts, and I think we're on 7 now. This Texas defense will end up not being nearly as statistically good as it should be, and definitely not getting any of the credit that it should deserve to get this season, because the offense is just so terrible. I said at the end of last season, when I start going back and looking at this roster and looking at the guys they're bringing in, that I thought this Texas defense was going to be better than last year's defense. And last year's defense was really, really damn good. But you look at all the pieces this team brought back on defense, they're loaded everywhere. Like, just completely stacked with players. There are dudes standing on Texas's sideline 90% of the games that could go start at other places. From the front four to the linebackers to the secondary. Excuse me. Loaded. PK like almost can't mess it up. That's how loaded they are. But my God. And kudos to them, man. Like, they could have folded last night. That defense could have just been like, shit, I am worn out. The offense isn't doing shit. And listen, I've played on teams that look just like this Texas team, where the defense was really, really good, but the offense couldn't get out of its own damn way. And it was a problem. It was a problem in our locker room. Like, I get it. You come into the season, I think if you were smart about coming into this season as a Texas fan, and even as a team, like, even that team, they're not dumb. They know what the real is. This was going to be a struggle early on offensively for Texas. Now, what I thought would probably happen is the defense would keep them in a lot of games, which they have. And I thought by this point of the season that the offense would have progressed to the point where it was serviceable. Like, it wasn't going to be high flying. You know, we're not going to score 40, 50 points a game. But I thought we could, I thought we'd be able to throw anywhere between like 28 and 40 points up a game. Like, I don't even, that sounds like a lot of points. That's really not a ton of points in today's football. So I thought they'd be serviceable. And I'm sure that's kind of what the team, that's what the coaches had to know. They had to. Like, we've got to play really, really good defense to keep us in games while this offense comes along. And everybody was probably on board with that. Now you're 7 games into the season, and nothing's changed offensively. They are the same offense that went up to Columbus, Ohio. Tell me I'm wrong. And so if you're in that defensive room, you got to just be, and I'm not trying to start trouble and stir the pot and shit. I'm just trying to give you guys some insight to where I've been and what I've seen. That's got to start creeping into these guys' minds some. And they're saying all the right things, and God love them. You got to. But, man, there's got to just be a little bit of, man, do we have to win every game? Can we just win it? Can the offense just do something and help us win a game? So back before I got way off on that tangent, the defense was phenomenal. They didn't throw the towel in. In fact, when they needed to be the best they could be, they were the best they could be down on the goal line in overtime. That play, Kentucky runs that first play and gets it down to the goal line. Tell me, Texas fans, jump in the chat and tell me, were you not just like, we're fucked? Like, that's going to be it. Because if Kentucky gets in the end zone right there, I don't know what, like, statisticians would put on that. I'd say it's a 95% chance we're losing that game. Maybe higher. Like, I really felt like if Kentucky gets this ball in the end zone, they're going to win. And sitting on the 1 yard line, there's a good chance you're going to get the ball in the end zone with 4 tries. And that Texas defense said, nope, not going to happen. What's up, Cody Jones? How we doing this morning? Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining everybody else out there as well. Jump in the comments. Let's chalk, man. Let's talk it up. This Texas defense creates turnovers that the offense cannot convert. This Texas defense is throwing us goal line stands. They're getting people off the field. They are punishing people on the other side of the ball. This is a very, very dominant defense, but you won't know it. I mean, you look at the stats last night for Kentucky and you think, man, hell, the quarterback went, what do you go, 31 of 39 or 32 of 39? That's not good, right? Like statistically, that's terrible. And this is why I don't like statistics. Yeah, he went 32 of 39 or whatever it was. He didn't do anything. It was like, it was the epitome of like nothing happened because of that. So it's a sad thing that we are seeing, Texas fans, because this defense is a championship caliber defense, 100%. 100%. And the offense is just not. And it's not getting better. And I think that's the problem. I think that's where Texas fans need to be really concerned right now, in my opinion. There is no progression of the offense. And at this point, I just don't feel like it's even realistic to think that we'll see that. Like, I think it's what we got. We're 7 games into the season. Tell us your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts. I mean, I could be wrong. When I'm wrong, I admit I'm wrong. And if Texas goes out and starts kicking ass offensively, I'll come in here. Hell, I thought Oklahoma was going to beat us. First thing I said last Wednesday was, I owe y'all an apology. I owe that team an apology. I had my plate of crow. I'll do it. I don't give a damn. But show me something. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a minute, Cody. That's a really, really good point that you just made. We'll throw that up in just a few minutes. So yeah, we're wasting a championship caliber defense because offensively we can't do anything. Next thought, there is not a single game left on this schedule that I have any confidence in. Not one. And some of y'all might say Mississippi State because they haven't won an SEC game, I think, in like 16 times. Like the last 16 SEC games they've lost. It's 15 or 16. I'm not confident. Defense travels. I'll tell you what I am confident in. I'm confident that the defense will show up and Mississippi State's not going to score a bunch of points. Like at this point, I almost feel, and that's probably why Ant Hill doesn't fall on that ball. They're probably thinking like, we got to score touchdowns. We've got to score touchdowns on defense for us to put points on the board. I don't like that mindset. I don't know that that's his mindset. I'm speculating. You're taught from a young age, balls on the ground, jump on the ball. Everybody plays football knows that. I think he's trying to make a play. It probably didn't cost us anything, but it sure would have been nice to have the ball down there. We might have at least got 3, right? Might have not gone to overtime. I'm not confident in Mississippi State at all. Vanderbilt, I tweeted it out yesterday. I am petrified of Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia is a dog. I hate that guy off the field, but between the whistles, I almost have the same type of relationship with Diego Pavia that I have with Baker Mayfield. I cannot stand Baker Mayfield after a play, but between the whistles, one of the funnest players to watch in all of football. Diego Pavia, same thing for me. That dude can play. And now the problem is he's got some guys around him that can play. I don't know who that Vandy coach is. I don't know where he came from. I don't know who any of those guys are that play on that team. But he's got them playing hard, and they believe they can win, and they're doing it. They play a really good Bama team down to the wire. Beat a top 10 LSU team who probably shouldn't have been a top 10 team, but what are you going to do about that? You can't fix that. That ain't your problem if you're Vandy. Arkansas, that quarterback from Arkansas is damn good. He might be the only thing they have, but he may only need to score a couple of touchdowns to beat Texas. Tell me where the easy win is in these final 5 games. A&M's going to be a damn dogfight. Hop in the chat. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me what's the easy wins. Tell me which games I should be confident in with this remaining Texas schedule. Because I just don't see it. Next thought. Why? I was thinking about this last night because I'm watching all these other teams play. And I'm watching all of these simple little plays that are scoring touchdowns. I saw multiple touchdowns yesterday off the QB booting out and dumping one off in the flat to a wide open guy. Why does Sark have to make this shit look so hard? Like, what is it about his philosophy that everything has got to be complicated as shit? And I'm speculating on that. Maybe we're just really good at making simple things look hard. That's a possibility. I'm willing to explore that possibility. But it just looks like other offenses to me are just running like just simple shit. Like it doesn't have to. You don't have to be a genius to get yards in college football. I just feel like it doesn't need to be complicated. You're not in the NFL, man. College football, to me, even though the players are much better in college than they are in high school across the board, right? We all know that. It's still like the same. There is a very big difference between the best D1 college football players and the guys that aren't good, that aren't as good. Let's just put it that way. They're all good players. They're all good athletes, all good players. They wouldn't be there. But from the bottom level of performers in D1 football to the top level performers in D1 football, it is night and day. So in high school, what do you do when you're the coach? You find out who's the guy that can't do shit. And that's who you pick on the whole game. If they can't cover the flat in high school, you run bootlegs and dump it off to the tight end or the fullback 50 times that game until they tell you can't do that anymore because I'm going to stop it. You can do the same thing in college football. Find a matchup that favors you and attack it. And I don't know. I'm not in the room with Sark. I'm obviously not in Sark's head. I don't know what goes into his game planning. But to me, it just feels more like, and he says it all the time, this is what we want to do. We got to worry about what we want to be infatuated with ourselves, and we want to do what we want to do. And I get that. Don't get me wrong. I understand that to an extent. And he gets paid a ton. The guy knows offense. Listen, I know I sound overly negative on Sark today. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to call it like I see it and just throw out some things that are just wild to me. Like, that's what this show's about. Just my random ass thoughts while I'm watching this Texas team play. I just feel like it's too much of, hey, we're going to do this. Instead of like, hey, we get in the game, we see some things, and we make some adjustments, and we start attacking where those weaknesses are. I mean, it might have happened. I don't remember Arch rolling out of the pocket one time last night. I don't remember it. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. But like I'm seeing plays go through my head from the game last night, and I don't remember ever seeing that. They just left him back there to just get him. He's like in a damn shooting gallery. Why? The kid can run. He's got escapability. He can extend. He can do everything that Diego Pavia does. 100%. He might be able to do it better than Diego Pavia. The only difference is Vandy knows that and they do it. We don't. I beat this one to death, but I got to throw it out there while I'm talking about this offense looking so hard. We don't even attempt to run the football. I mean, just halftime, 3 carries apiece for our running backs. 3. 6 rushing plays I think we had 28 plays in the first half. I looked it up at halftime. That's the only reason I know this. I've not looked at any stats since the game. 6 carries out of 28 plays against a team that was one of the worst rushing defenses in the country. Make that make sense. Sark reverted back to the slow developing pass plays that got Arch killed in Gainesville. Dink and dunk worked versus OU. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Joe. The question is why. And hey, let's talk statistics again. I just threw out I think they're like 84th in the country against the run or something coming into that game. They're like 111th against the pass. So I mean, like, I get it. The problem is the teams that are kicking their ass passing the ball can protect their quarterback. And hey, it was great to see them show up and bow up against Oklahoma. I thought Arch might get killed headed into that Red River shootout just after what we saw from Florida, because I think Oklahoma's front four way better than Florida's front four. And they handled them. Kudos to them. And I'm sure that went into his thinking, okay, like, they're getting it. We made some changes. We've progressed through the season. They're starting to get it. Man, last night looked like the very first game of the season for anybody. We had guys not blocking like who they should have blocked. We had guys not being able to block the guy that they were supposed to block, like a physical problem. If you can't block, you got to get the ball out of his hands, or you got to get him out on the perimeter away from all that trash. You can't just set him up behind that and expect him to excel. So I want to throw up one of Cody's comments. Cody drops. Yeah, here we go. Sark sat Quinn for less. How do you perform so well as a QB, then shit the bed against Kentucky? Hey, we got to have a conversation, Texas fans. I feel like we do. How long, and this is our next thought, how long can rational Texas fans continue hoping that Arch Manning is a product of multiple things outside of his control, rather than being a part of that equation that makes up such a terrible offense in 2025? And hey, I've done it. I did it after the Florida game. Everybody was dogging Arch. And I didn't do it out of some loyalty to Arch. I'm not like an Arch truther. I'm not like one of these guys last year that was clamoring for Arch Manning to start over Quinn Ewers. I just thought there's no way in hell, if you know anything about football, that you're trying to blame Arch Manning for that Florida loss. This weekend, I can't do that. Because Arch Manning had some time. Not all the time, but he had time, and he had guys wide open. Wide open. You know how I just said plays run through my head when I start thinking about a game? There's 3 that just ran through my head as I said that. He missed Wingo on a drag, shallow cross, whatever you want to call it. He missed the kid from Stanford. He hasn't done enough for me to even remember his name. The transfer from Stanford, and that's not a diss on him. He's made some plays. I just can't remember his name. Missed him on a slant. And he missed Jack Injuries. Jack Injuries wasn't even moving. Like, you could make the argument that, man, it's hard to throw to a moving target. Okay. It probably is for me. It probably is for 95% of the people on Twitter. It probably is for 95% of the people watching college football every Saturday. Yeah, throwing the ball down the field to something that's moving is probably hard for us. Shouldn't be hard for Arch Manning. Excuse me. Bad misses. Hey, to be fair, that slant, he was under a ton of pressure. And he got the shit knocked out of him. And that's got to be in the back of his head every time he drops back to pass now. There's no way it can't. It is human nature to not want to get hit. It's human nature to not want to get hit and not even know you're about to get hit. We dog these kids. I don't think people realize how fast the game of college football is. How fast everything looks when you're down there on the field. You see it from a TV or even live and you go, man, those guys are moving. Being down there with all of that shit going on, most people cannot even imagine what that looks like and feels like. So we got to show some grace, I think. But I will caveat that with there's other guys in college football today that are less talented, according to the recruiting agencies and all of that stuff, that are playing for guys that aren't QB whisperers and offensive gurus, that are performing in those types of situations. The Mr. Wingo, just awful. Just a terrible throw. So, yeah, Arch Manning doesn't have time most of the time. Arch Manning doesn't have a running game to support him, which is a huge problem. And that ain't his problem. I mean, it kind of ends up being his problem, but he's not at fault for that. But last night, there were opportunities for Arch Manning to make plays, even with all that going on. And he just didn't. So at what point do you look at that? And I don't know what the answer is. I'm just having a conversation. At what point do you go, man, maybe he's just not the guy right now? And again, I'm not trying to stir shit. I think life is about, like, if you're failing at something, like, you have to start asking some pretty tough questions. If I can't get promoted at work, I don't need to sit there and point at everybody else and go, oh, that's the reason I'm not getting. No, you need to you need to look inside and go, hey, do I have the right team around me? If you lead a group of people at work and you're not getting promoted and your team is not successful at work, you got to start looking at the pieces of your team, including yourself, and asking tough questions. I don't know why people are allergic to tough questions, but I think that's a tough question that somebody needs to start asking themselves. Maybe we were wrong about Arch Manning. I think he's immensely like when he looks good, he looks good. He looked really, really good against Oklahoma. But he is just 100% inconsistent. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a physical thing for him on these missed throws, if it's just a mental thing. Like, I don't know. But what I do know is that a quarterback's job is just to get the ball to people. And when you got guys wide open and everybody wants to bust Steve Sarkisian's balls, and listen, I don't think that's like not deserved at all. Like, there's some spots to like bust Steve Sarkisian's balls, but he's been scheming some guys open. He's been doing it all season, and Arch just can't hit him. And I say can't not because I don't think he can. Like, I think he can. He's just not. Let me know, Texas fans. What do you guys think? Cody says the QB position needs to be an open competition this week. I feel like, and I think there's a balance. There's a balance between you can't shake these guys' confidence. So I think you've got to. I think why we see, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but I think why we see so many college football coaches willing to dig in and defend their quarterbacks, even when it's almost indefensible. And listen, I'm putting last night in the indefensible. I don't think there's any way you can literally defend what we saw last night out of Arch Manning. But the reason they go to bat for those guys is because they want them to know that, hey, man, you're my guy. You don't want your starting quarterback looking over his shoulder. So I think what you do, if it's me, I think you start paying more attention in practice and really evaluating, am I putting Arch Manning in there because he's practicing the best? He's performing the best? Or am I doing it because that's what I'm supposed to do because he's my guy? And I've said this is my guy. Steve Sarkisian probably could have brought Quinn Ewers back last year. And he had to make a tough decision. I think Quinn Ewers, if Arch Manning isn't there, he might come back. He knew his grade wasn't going to be good. But his alternative was go to the NFL and see what happens, or try to transfer to some new place my senior year and try to learn a whole new offense and get it like that. That is insane to me. So Sark at some point made that decision. We saw him put Quinn on the bench last year to bring Arch out there. And hey, I don't think that was a bad. I think Quinn needed a breather. Quinn needed a timeout. That didn't shake Quinn's confidence, though. I think all of that is manageable with the right conversations. And I think probably Steve Sarkisian's really good at those types of conversations. Or I don't think he'd be where he's at if he didn't know how to navigate those conversations. So I don't know that you go into the locker room today or tomorrow, whatever. I mean, I'm sure they'll watch film and have training and, get nicks and bruises and all that stuff looked at today. Tomorrow they'll practice. I don't know that you walk out on the practice field and go, all right, QB's an open competition. But I think in the back of my mind, if I'm Steve Sarkisian, I'm paying more attention to that. My perspective is not that Arch Manning is my guy, no matter what happens this week. I don't know. It's a delicate situation, man. We're talking about, like, just think about it. Like say Sark does play somebody else. The negative recruiting against Texas, it would just be one more thing in that clip of ammunition for other coaches and programs. Oh, Sark's going to dog you out. Sark's going to, whatever. Yeah, here's a fair point. Our offensive line is really bad. And Quinn Ewers 3. Yeah, Quinn Ewers would have got his ass kicked a bunch this year. Way worse than Arch has. That's 100% fact. 100% fact. And that's why I say I think the way I've looked at this most of this season has been the offensive line's bad. We can't get the running game going. Not a lot of quarterbacks are going to look good in that type of situation. Everybody that understands football understands that and knows that. But last night, it wasn't just that. And I think for me, that's where I start to look at this a little bit differently. So again, I'm not saying they should bench Arch. I'm just saying if you're Texas, and this is my bonus, we've just done 10 thoughts. Here's my bonus thought. Sark has got a lot of tough decisions he needs to make. A lot. And I got 3 of them for you guys. 1, Steve Sarkisian really needs to sit down with himself and really try to he probably needs to bring some guys in. He needs to go find some guys he trusts. And this is not now. This is after the season. He needs to find some guys that he trusts their opinion and sit down with those guys and have a really deep conversation about whether he should be calling plays. Because I don't think head coaches can manage games the way head coaches need to manage games and call plays at the same time. I'm not saying it's never happened. It's very rare. Ohio State wins a national championship last year because Ryan Day goes, you know what? This is too much for me to handle. Let me bring in Chip Kelly, one of the best play callers in college sports. They win a national championship. To me, that's part of being coachable yourself. It's real easy for fans. It's real easy for those guys to go, oh, I'm the head coach at the University of Texas, or he's the head coach at the University of Texas. He's got it all figured out. That's silly thinking. He doesn't have it all figured. If he had it all figured out, we'd be winning national championships every single year. He doesn't have it all figured out, and none of them do. This is not a Sark thing necessarily. It's a Sark thing because it's the situation Sark's in for me. He's got to do that. And maybe you come out of those discussions and he goes, you know what? I am still going to call plays. Okay. At least you did that. And hey, maybe he has done that. I don't know. We don't know. We've heard people ask him and he just goes back to, hey, I feel like I've got the best grasp of what we want to do. And I mean, that's his prerogative, right? But I think you got, you can live by that sword and you can die by that sword. And if I'm Sark, I'm looking at what the offense has done this year. And yeah, there's some things that are outside of his control. Like he can't make the guys block. He can't make Arch throw the ball accurately. He can't make the receivers catch it. He can't make the backs either be able to break a tackle or make somebody. He can't do any of those things. But he can put them in positions to be better at those things. And I don't think he's doing that. I think the miss of not going and getting offensive linemen, I think the miss of not going and getting a running back in the portal, they are disastrous misses right now for this offense. He missed. He and Kyle Flood and whoever else is part of those conversations, they missed. Number 2, speaking of Kyle Flood, there's only one answer here. Either you are not grading these guys correctly and you're bringing in guys that you think are better than they actually are, or you're not developing them. I know this offensive line, the offensive line 1 that started this season didn't have a ton of starting experience, but there's a lot of those guys that have been in this program for a long time. And they don't look like they know what they're doing to me most of the time. We saw that sack last night where, and hey, maybe football's changed a lot. I don't know. I grew up playing football where you blocked from the inside out on pass plays. In other words, if they've overloaded you on one side and you got 3 offensive linemen over there or 2 offensive linemen over there and there's 3 guys, you don't let the guy run up the middle. You block that guy. And you let the guy off the edge maybe make a play. The quarterback can do something with that. The quarterback can't do shit when the guy's running right at him, right up the middle. And we saw it last night. They just fanned out and let that dude run right up the middle. And he absolutely, I can't believe Arch got up. He knocked the piss out of him. So again, if I'm Steve Sarkisian, that's a tough decision I got to make. Is Kyle Flood my guy? Or maybe is one of these personnel guys we've hired, are they my guy? Because it can't be both. If Kyle Flood's truly a very great offensive line coach, he would have these guys playing better. If they're the grade that we thought they were, if we're the type of player we thought they were. So someone's missing the mark somewhere. I don't know where it's at. I'm not inside there. I just can see the product, and it's bad. And then here's the tough decision. I think Sark, and I don't know that he has to necessarily make a decision, but he's got to think about this, and we just talked about it with Arch Manning. Are you willing to go down on the ship? Because listen, there's no easy wins on this schedule. We talked about that earlier. There's nothing easy left. I'm trying to bring it up. Here we go. So, yeah, you go on the road to Mississippi State, and I know they're not a good team. But hell, I think they only have to score a few points to get you in a spot where you're in trouble. Vanderbilt comes to town. Georgia, you got to go on the road to Georgia. Does anybody on the planet think this Texas team has a shot to go into Sanford Stadium and win the game the way they've played this year? Hey, you play the games. I get it. It's why you play the games. If you just looked at paper, you wouldn't even have to play the games. You just simulate the whole thing and award a championship. I don't, talent-wise, I don't think there's any of these 5 games that Texas can't win. But I don't have any confidence that they'll execute and do the things they need to do, especially offensively. So, I think if I'm Sark, I'm not going to dog the kid, and I'm not going to go in there today and say, you're not starting on Saturday. I'm going to keep doing the things that I've been doing as far as trying to bring him along. Excuse me. Bring him along. Woo. I'm going to say the right things to the media. But in the back of my mind, I'm watching practice really, really hard this week. And when we get out on that field in Starkville, Mississippi, I'm paying real close attention to what's going on in the warm-ups. I'm thinking to myself as the game goes on, if we start seeing just bad misses, and I'm talking misses when you're not under duress. The misses when you're getting barreled down on, those are, you can defend that. I'll say that. But 2 out of the 3 that are running through my head were not situations where he was under duress. He just missed. One of them he missed was just standing there. So those are our 10 thoughts on the Texas win. Hey, we're 5-2. We won a football game. It was ugly as shit. The defense rose to the occasion. You got to be happy about that. But there was a lot of things that happened in that game, and they've happened pretty consistently so far this year on offense that just make it hard for me to go. I feel like this team can turn it around offensively. I think this defense is going to keep Texas in a lot of games. I don't know how long they can play like that. Like I think if the offense looks like that against a Texas A&M or a Georgia or a Vanderbilt, they're not going to be able to stop them like they stopped Kentucky last night. There's like levels to this shit. I think we all understand that. So if you're Sark, you got to figure out, like, what do we need to do to get ourselves in a position where offensively we can take some pressure off of the defense and try to score some points. Last 2 weeks, the offense has scored 2 touchdowns. That ain't going to get it done. And the problem for the whole Texas Longhorn team, there's not a lot of time to figure it out. Like the time to figure it out was those 3 games after Ohio State. And so you hear me talking about, like, why are we not running the football? Oh, we won 42 to what, we won big. Why are you asking it? Why do you care? Well, it's because now we can't run the football because we didn't do it against teams we should be able to do it against. We didn't go into those games and say, today is a scrimmage for us, and we're going to scrimmage running the football down people's throats. That's why I say those things. That's why I bring that up. That's why it drives me crazy when Steve Sarkisian last year, when they're asking him about the running game, and he goes, oh, we had 200 yards rushing. What are you talking about? Yeah, but when you needed to pick up 2 yards, you couldn't against not a good team. That's a problem. Appreciate everybody today interacting with us. Thanks for listening today. I think we'll have Michelle back on Wednesday. Make sure you check us out at Horn Takes. Make sure you check her out at Michelle Lynn with 3 N's, 94. She's a good follow. You guys have a good rest of your weekend. We will see you guys Wednesday night on From the Cheap Seats. We will preview this Mississippi State game. I don't think there's much to wrap up about this Kentucky game. I'm just happy we got out of there with a win. You guys have a good rest of the weekend.